Day 29 out of the 31 days of Halloween masks. We were having some fun last night, huh? Adam's a good guy. So last night Adam was here. He's a great dude. His father and I are good friends, and it's great to see younger people so passionate about this crazy hobby that I'm in. It's like sometimes you think, like, is this all just going to go away like the way of the Model T, where all of the guys eventually get old and nobody wants them anymore? Maybe. Possibly. But luckily, you know, horror and monsters is a pretty vast genre, and there always seems to be more younger people popping up in this hobby, and there's a lot of facets to the mask hobby, but this classic monster mask, you know, 60s through the 80s part of it is super important. And believe it or not, there's lots of young guys that are drawn to it, and that's amazing. I want to see this live on as long as it possibly can. I love having people like Adam show up here and look at this stuff firsthand and be able to appreciate it, you know, face to face, because it's a lot different than just seeing pictures on the internet. So tonight, for number 29, we've seen a lot of great things in the past 28 days. And I think tonight we're going to go into vintage Don Post once again, of course. I mean, that's a majority of this room is vintage Don Post Studios. That's changing slowly, though. I want to focus this episode on the 1977 catalog. We've been through classics that are from that 77 catalog, but there's some that I've left out so far, and I think we really needed to show them in tonight's video and talk a little bit about them, because there's some of the best masks to ever come out of Don Post in the 70s, and we're going to look at some right now. Tor Johnson and the Death Cyborg were both in the 1977 catalog together. Part of the 800 line and the 900 line. These are very, very collectible masks in the hobby. Tor Johnson here was Don Post's #1 selling mask of all time. You're looking at it right there. This one, even though it debuted in 77, this is a mint tagged copy, and it was produced in 82. Still the same old mask as it was in 77. It's the vinyl Tor Johnson. However, it is very rare to see a copy that's never been worn and in this great of condition. The thing is absolutely pristine, perfect. The paint is like brand new. The vinyl is nice and soft. I mean, this mask has been well taken care of over the years, and it is the only new unworn tagged Tor Johnson I've ever seen. Right there. I've seen a zillion of these because they pumped out tons of them over the years, and like I said, it was Don Post's #1 selling mask. Obviously, Tor Johnson, Plan 9 from Outer Space, right? I'm sure all of you know exactly who he is, but he sold a lot of Halloween masks for this company, and this thing has popped up in a lot of movies over the years. If you know any movies out there that you've seen this mask pop up in over the years, put it in the comments. One that comes to mind, which is pretty funny, is Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, the breakdancing movies. I love them. I was there. I lived through the whole breakdancing thing. I wore parachute pants. Yes, I'm a superstar breaker, popping and locking. There's someone in that movie, like somewhere... What are you doing, man? Somebody in the movie towards the end in Breakin' 2, I'm pretty sure it was Breakin' 2, somebody's wearing the Tor Johnson mask and they're breakdancing at the end, like during the whole end sequence of that film. So this thing's popped up a lot over the years in a lot of movies. probably a dozen or more. I just can't think of any of them right now except Breakin' 2. Now, the good old Death Cyborg, one of the coolest masks ever produced by Don Post Studios. There were 2 versions. There's different little details on them, like in the mold. I've had both versions. One's rarer than the other. This one's got a lot of the little details on it that the other one does not. This is a perfect copy, which is very, very rare. The big problem with the Death Cyborg masks is, see all the little things on it? It's a really neat mask. The big problem is those original lenses were either destroyed, they pop out, they're dented in. It is rare. Hi. You being a good boy? Oh, there we go. There we go. It is rare to see this mask with those original gold lenses, and they're very thin. They're like some kind of weird, what would you call that? Like celluloid? It's a very weird plastic material. It looks like gold chrome, but you can almost see through it. It's really old stuff. Hear that? Those are the original lenses, though, which is a great thing to have in this mask, because once those come out, you'll never find any replacements, and guys usually come up with different ways to put things in there. Having those original lenses is everything on this mask. That's the first thing guys look for when one of these pops up for sale somewhere. And believe it or not, this mask may look like one of the most popular villains in the science fiction universe, but this mask predates Darth Vader. Yes, sir. Believe it or not, this came out before Darth Vader hit the big screen in Star Wars in '77. This came out first. There was actually some controversy back then. So there was a big demand for Darth Vader masks, though, in '77. I'm talking. Big demand for Vader in '77. Don Post definitely made the Darth Vader mask, okay? Quiet! Don Post Studios definitely made Darth Vader masks in '77, okay? There was a huge... Quiet! There was a huge demand for them. But they could not keep up with the orders. So, the Death Cyborg became the poor man's Darth Vader and took its place in lots of collections over the years. And even costumes. However, the 20th Century Fox executives were kind of giving Don Post a hard time, wanting to know exactly when this mask was designed and produced. So Don Post had to produce photos and proof that this mask was indeed designed and sculpted in 1976, well before Darth Vader made his debut on the big screen in Star Wars. That led a lot of people to ask the question, was this inspiration for Darth Vader? You never know. Once again, 2 great masks from that 1977 catalog. And this guy may have some funky like dents in him, but he's super soft. I mean, he's just, you know, that's just the way he is. It's still a perfect copy. He just has some, he was probably stored away years ago, you know, and being smashed. He got some dimples, you know, like in the chin area. I saw someone crying about that the other day, pointing at this. Dollar Jacob, I saw you doing it. He's fine though. Look, my friend, it's just flexible vinyl. Nothing to worry about. I'm just messing with you. Probably the nicest Tor Johnson you will ever see in a collection is this one right here. Brand new 82 care tag. Gorgeous. So take a look at those, because these are very, very sought after masks in the Don Post world. Everyone usually wants them in their collection, and they're not like, you know, insanely rare. Like I said, this is the number one selling mask of all time. But to find a Death Cyborg with the lenses can be hard to find. It's just cool as hell. You know, 9 times out of 10, well, 7 times out of 10, guys just want masks because they love them. There's that weird little group of guys, though, that buy masks and collect them to excite other people. This is something really strange in the hobby that I've come to notice over the years. It's a very bizarre phenomenon, and there's collectors out there that just collect stuff to impress other people. I will never understand it. I just don't even get me started. Back to the masks. 2 classics from '77, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen these over the years, but those are awesome. 2 gorgeous copies. Now we've got 2 more from the 1977 catalog. I'm so glad we're digging a little deeper into the 1977 line, because there's so many great masks for 1977. These 2 are quite rare. You know, they're out there, but in limited numbers. On the left, from the 900 line, you have the Caridian Alien, which is a real wild looking original Don Post design. On the right, from the 1000 line for 1977, Mongo. And Mongo had a little crazier hair, you know, when he was produced. And I want to know if any of you can tell me who this character is. Obviously, you'll probably hear the answer in a minute. But do you know who this is supposed to be? Mongo is a tribute to the 1940s horror film star Rondo Hatton. Okay? This is the Rondo Hatton mask produced by Don Post in 1977, and they called it Mongo. This one's a rare one. I've only seen a handful of these over the years. This one is super nice. Let's see if I can lift it up here. He's foam filled, but definitely showing his age with that aged glue like that. In the beginning days of my collecting, that would have bothered me, but now I love it. I love seeing the old aged glue like that. I just think it's super cool, and it definitely instantly tells you that that's an old mask, you know. Cool characteristic just having that. So, Caridian Alien and Rondo. 900 line, 1000 line. And this one is super mint. This thing, though, look at this. When I got this sucker, it's so mint and like in unworn condition. It's stuffed with some shredded vintage newspaper, and I believe they did this at Don Post Studios at times. If I remember correctly, they did shred up newspaper to stuff in some masks for either shipping or storage. I'd have to verify that. That Gillis I showed you last night, the Don Post Gillis, Elton John's lost cousin, also had the same type of stuffing inside of it. Pretty neat. I forgot to mention that last night. It wasn't the Elton Glow version, but it was the Gillis. I could probably go through this and find a shred that has the actual date on it. I would almost bet it's from the 70s. Oh, look at that. This is cool. Sunday morning, October. That's crazy. Oh, is that cool or what? Sunday morning, October. I wonder what the year is. That's crazy, though. It's October right now. I would almost bet that that's probably from 1977, that newspaper. And to find it this nice is rare. Okay, I've got another one I'll show you. This poor guy didn't live the good life like the other copy did. He had it a little rougher over the years. And that, my friends, is what can happen to these beautiful masks if they're not taken care of properly. Keep in mind, this is a vinyl mask. Vinyl usually lasts forever unless you stick that vinyl mask on a styrofoam head, and there's a reaction that happens with vinyl masks and styrofoam, and I would almost bet on it that that's what happened to this mask. At some point, I bet someone put this sucker either on a styrofoam head, or it was sitting next to a furnace where the heat just killed it. I mean, it's hardened. That doesn't happen to vinyl masks. They hardly ever look like this. Sure, it happens to latex rubber, but vinyl, it's very odd that that happened to this sucker. Right. 3 more from that amazing 77 catalog lineup. On the left, you have the Don Post Demon from 1977. This is a very, very iconic Don Post mask. It was always in those black and white 70s ads. It looked so cool with those spikes on his head, and anybody that was reading Famous Monsters back in the day, you will definitely recognize the image of this mask. Pretty rare, you know. I think the Tharps brought this mask back with modern castings for a while, but the originals are quite rare, and finding them in decent condition can be very rare as well. The one in the middle from the 1000 line, this is a very rare mask. The Old Woman. What's up, baby? So, this is not the best copy in the world, okay? She's kind of stiff down here. Even in her whole face, she's stiffened up. But listen, this is the second copy I've ever seen. It's that rare. There's a collector out there who has a beautiful old man and old woman. There's an old man as well. But this was the only other old woman I've ever seen pop up. There were cheaper, thinner versions of these, but these are like the deluxe old man, old woman style. Well, this is the old woman, obviously, but man, that is one rare Don Post mask. I'm always on the hunt for a beautiful copy of this and the old man. If they ever surface, I'm going after them. You'll see in the catalog photo, they look really neat, and it's something, it must have just never sold very well, you know? Who the heck wants to be an old person for Halloween when you could be a freaking demon in 77? And that's a big problem I have today. With all of these pop-up stores for the last like 5 to 8 years, all you would see, you wouldn't see a lot of monster masks. You'd see clowns and old people masks. What has happened to Halloween? Finally, thank goodness, you're getting some Universal monsters back in the mix when you go to Spirit and Halloween City. You know, obviously Trick or Treat Studios is bringing those guys back. But man, for years, I would walk into these pop-up shops. It was horrible. It was like a horrible, sad feeling. Like if a kid wanted to be Frankenstein, forget it. Nope. You could be an old man, though. And there's 5 different masks. You could be 5 different old people. Clowns are okay. They're not, I'm sorry, but clowns aren't scary. All you people out there that are terrified of clowns, go get therapy or something, because they're not that scary. There's all these crazy clown guys out there these days. What? So I was kind of just like, for years, old people masks and clown masks at these pop-up stores. And I'm like, what is going on? You can't be a werewolf. You can't be Frankenstein. You can't be anything that even looks like those. You gotta be these stupid character masks. Or you could be a bag of Cheetos. Oh my God, what an amazing costume that is. You know, stuff like that. Like just, oh God. I mean, I get it. Anyway, we gotta change the subject. On the right, a rare Don Post mask. That is a very popular one amongst collectors. Titled B. Garrett Theta. Probably one of the weirdest names for a Don Post mask in the history of Don Post. B. Garrett Theta. I'm gonna explain what that even means. But this mask was so grotesque for its time in the 70s. An exposed brain, just boils and gooey muscle tissue over exposed bone, an eyeball coming out. It literally was something that I think a lot of places didn't even want to sell because it was so disgusting for 1977, which is such a beautiful thing. You know, this was the start of something amazing in years to come in the history of Halloween masks, because they started getting more grotesque and more crazy as you went through the 80s. Remember Dream Girl? Remember that? This guy predated that, and it was a very gross, disgusting mask that was pretty controversial for its time. And I'm going to tell you what that name, B. Garrett Theta, means. So here's the funny story behind the name of this crazy, creepy mask, B. Garrett Theta. This is a strange one, and it's funny how it all went down. Bill Malone left a note on his desk right next to this mask, reminding himself to call Bonnie Garrett at Theta Television. And the note simply read B. Garrett Theta, like the letter B Garrett Theta, okay? He left the note next to the mask, and it was all on his desk. Then Bob Short comes along, who was in charge of putting the catalog together, grabs the mask, grabs the note. You can see where this is going. He saw the note and thought that this was the name for this new mask, okay? So, sure enough, it went into the catalog as B. Garrett Theta. So I've showed you some great masks in that 77 catalog. And the thing is, if you have that physical catalog in front of you, it is one of the coolest catalogs ever, because so many amazing masks came out in 77. There's way more than what I showed you, but in the previous videos during the past 28 days, I've went through quite a few out of that 77 catalog already. So I'm going to end this video with one more killer mask from that 77, from the pages of that 77 catalog. From one of the greatest movies ever made, about a young girl who goes on a journey to the Emerald City, walking down a path of yellow bricks. Yes, the Wizard of Oz. I have here, from the 1100 line, this incredible Cowardly Lion mask. And this is a very rare Don Post mask, okay? I love it because it has this, you know, great head of hair, similar to a Wolfman mask. A lot of work went into this 1100 line mask. A lot of hair work. And this was a very different type of Don Post mask because the mouth was actually cut out of the mask. And when you wore it, it would appear that your mouth was part of the lion's face. Okay? So this was exposed to show your lip and chin and part of your actual face through the mask, which was really cool. I think that was basically the only vintage Don Post mask that ever had something like that. This is an amazing copy. This was foam filled by Mask Kahuna years ago, and what a killer example of a Cowardly Lion. I mean, it's pretty new condition. I mean, it's all there. It doesn't look like any hair's been yanked out of it over the years. And if you took the time to properly brush this with the right type of brush and brush it out super careful, very, very carefully, each little section, because you do not want to yank that vintage hair off of this mask. Once you do that, it's, you know, you're ruining it. You're ripping the hair off of it. So there's special brushes with little round tip bristles I use, and I'd slowly go through that. You know, if you just start brushing it like, you know, anything else, like a cat or dog, forget it. You're going to start ripping off lots of the hair, and you don't want to do that. I could get that thing looking like that type of hair again, where it's, you know, normal and not in little weird wound up tentacle type shapes. So that is one rare Don Post piece right there. I had to show you guys. Thank you for watching all of these things, and I hope you learned something. I hope you remember masks from your childhood. We're definitely not done with this type of stuff. It's going to continue on. I'm going to show you other mask collections out there, and I'm going to continue buying masks all the time. I just bought another one today. Oh, I have an unboxing video to do. Maybe I'll do a video on that one next and pop it up real quick. It's a cool mask, and it has to do with one that we featured a few days ago. Oh yeah, there's more work. There's more stuff coming. Don't worry. All you mask lovers out there, there's cool stuff coming. So we're done. Good night. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.